Ever wonder what Vikings did when they weren't raiding? I bet you're picturing huge, bearded warriors sailing longships, right? But what if I told you about a Viking story that's not about plunder, but about exploration, family drama, and a mysterious land of grapes and vines? This is the story of Leif Erikson's sister, Freydis, a woman as fierce and ambitious as any Viking chief, and her journey into the unknown. Forget what you think you know, because we're about to uncover a side of the Vikings you've never seen before. So, everyone knows about Leif Erikson, the legendary explorer who landed in North America almost 500 years before Columbus. He called it Vinland, the land of wine, because of the wild grapes his crew found. But Leif wasn't the only Erikson with a thirst for adventure. Enter his sister, Freydis Erik's daughter. The sagas describe her as a towering and formidable figure, not someone you'd want to cross. While Leif established the first camp in Vinland, it was Freydis who saw its true potential not just as a place to explore, but as a land to profit from. After Leif returned to Greenland, the stories of Vinland's riches spread like wildfire. Timber, furs, and those famous grapes were a treasure trove waiting to be claimed. Freydis saw an opportunity. She wasn't content to sit back and let her brothers have all the glory and wealth. She wanted her own piece of the new world. So she proposed a new expedition, but this time she would be in charge. She approached two Icelandic brothers, Helgi and Finnbogi, who were also keen to make their fortune in Vinland. They agreed to a joint venture. The plan was simple. They would each take one ship with an equal number of men and split all the profits down the middle. It sounded like a solid business plan, a perfect partnership. But this is a Viking saga, and smooth sailing is rarely part of the story. From the very beginning, Freydis had other plans. Secretly, Freydis broke their agreement before they even set sail. She packed her own ship with more men than she was allowed, giving her an immediate advantage. When they arrived in Vinland, they headed for the settlement her brother Leif had built. Freydis immediately declared that the houses belonged to her, as they were her brother's property, and forced the two brothers and their men to build their own separate camp. The partnership was already crumbling, and tensions were rising. The cold, harsh winter in this new land was about to get a whole lot colder. The two camps coexisted uneasily for a while, trading and working, but the bad blood simmered just beneath the surface. Freydis felt slighted and disrespected. One cold morning, she walked barefoot across the frozen ground to the brothers' camp and accused them of mistreating her. She claimed they had struck her and demanded retribution. When she returned to her own camp, she went to her husband, Thorvard, and presented him with a fabricated story of assault, demanding that he avenge her honor. Thorvard, pressured by his formidable wife, gathered their men. They stormed the brothers' camp while they were sleeping and, completely outnumbered, Helgi and Finnbogi's crew stood no chance. All the men were tied up and executed. However, Thorvard's men refused to harm the 5 women in the camp. Seeing their hesitation, Freydis was furious. The saga says she grabbed an axe herself and, in a cold rage, dispatched the women one by one. She had secured all the riches of Vinland for herself. When Freydis returned to Greenland, her ship laden with timber and riches, she tried to cover up the massacre. She threatened death to anyone who spoke of what truly happened. But secrets like that don't stay buried for long. Word eventually reached her brother, Leif Erikson. Horrified, he interrogated his sister's crew and pieced together the gruesome truth. While he couldn't bring himself to punish his own sister as she deserved, he cursed her, saying that her descendants would never prosper. And so the story of Freydis, the ambitious and ruthless Viking explorer, faded into a dark corner of history, a chilling reminder that the Viking Age was driven by more than just a thirst for adventure. It was driven by a relentless hunger for power at any cost. What a story, right? It really shows that history is filled with these incredible, complex characters that often get overlooked. If you enjoyed uncovering this hidden Viking tale with me, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the past. Let me know in the comments what historical mysteries you want to explore next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.